Uh, no pizza. I know that news directors are big on everybody gets pizza on election day.
Yeah, they had pizza in the newsroom. Just I was not in the newsroom.
Yeah,
I was
that's
at
always the annoying part. It's like, yeah, oh, I got pizza for everyone. Did you get it for everyone? Because you got like, you know, 8 reporters out in the
yeah,
field. We
yeah,
places where they're eating food and like we technically shouldn't really be eating it.
right. That's exactly what happened. So yeah, we didn't get fed there. It was not like, a college basketball game where they take care of you, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But
man.
game is game. Welcome to Mostly Major Show, episode 6. We're going. We're in week 2 of the season. We've already had some crazy upsets. Shout
Oh
out
yeah.
North Florida. Shout
North
out
Florida.
shout out Columbia beating Villanova this week.
We
Uh,
can talk the Jacks. That's considered an upset, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
an
think a
upset
lot
in
of people knew
Vegas.
what to expect.
Yeah, it's an upset in Vegas, that's for sure.
It was. Yeah. Yeah, they got a big win against McNeese State. Obviously, we previewed that one pretty extensively. But that could ultimately be a quad one win. I was looking at some of the preseason net predictions. Obviously, those don't come out for a couple weeks, but the RPI of McNeese State, they were just outside the top 50. They were 52, I think.
Yeah.
So you got to get inside the top 50. A win against an opponent inside the top 50 at a neutral site. Remember, that was a neutral site game for Jackrabbits.
Yeah.
It was an hour away from Brookings. But yeah, that
Loop.
could be a quad one win after the Summit League didn't have a single quad one win last year. It's pretty big stuff right there.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff that, gives you now the Summit League, the strength of schedule playing in the Summit League probably won't do too many favors respectfully,
Right.
but it's the difference between okay, do I have to go all out and win my conference tournament or maybe could I get the benefit of the doubt if we lose in the semifinals or the championship?
Yeah. I mean, they have enough where they could go make some magic, right? Like if they go on the road and beat Alabama, all of a sudden that's a team that has a quad one win and a quad two as it sits right now. And ultimately that quad two is going to be bumped up to a quad one because it's kind of a flexible thing the way that the NCAA networks. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
It's like the electoral college, but for college basketball. It's yeah, I was fascinated by that win. Joe Seiler, man, step back one-legged merchant.
Yeah, that
Wow.
was impressive stuff by all I mean, those freshmen, they were not playing like freshmen. And I was wondering how SDSU was gonna attack, the McNeese size just because they were just bigger,
Yeah.
but they just all played fearless. So hats off to the Jackson. Hats off to Will Wade because that's not easy to go to a neutral site in someone's home state, an hour away from where they normally play, and
Yeah.
agree to that. So shout out to them. Unfortunate result and everything, but I mean, like I said, it takes a lot of cajones to saddle up and go out and play a team like that.
Saddle up the Cowboys, McNeese State Cowboys.
Perhaps a
Yeah.
little. The other two games were really good as well. Charleston and Southern Illinois, really good stuff. The
Hey,
college,
prayers up for Robbie Avila.
yeah, I was
The
gonna
star from
say,
Indiana State a season ago got hurt. Apparently he was nursing that going into the game,
yeah, he was like
taking
he
it
was
easy with
already
him.
kind of on the fence about even being ready to start the year, but he
Yeah.
pushed through and decided to play. So hopefully he can get that right. Obviously you want to see great players play.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the field of 68 as a whole, I mean, I successful enough, I'd say, to do it all again. I mean, I think you get like I said, St. Louis and Santa Clara was a great game.
Yeah.
Obviously Avila goes down, but I think overall it was just a great game. Really impressive stuff by Adema Alpha Ball. If you saw my corny tweet, Adema Alpha Tray Ball, I think he was 2 for 3 or 3 for 4 from three. He was really knocking him down. He finished with 24. Isaiah Swope was really impressive on St. Louis. Final score there was Santa Clara 85. St. Louis 78. So really good stuff there. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the College of Charleston, they win 90 to 80. I mean, they've been for the past few years just, basically all out offense. And you saw that on display. They were hitting shots, they were
Yeah.
playing really good inside out ball. And then the
Yeah.
nightcap was, like we mentioned, was a great win for South Dakota State. I think they have enough juice to run it back.
I don't see why not.
Yeah. And I mean, you
That was
got
a
Will
fun
Wade.
event to watch, man.
Yeah, and you got Will Wade eating chislic on live TV, internet, whatever. I mean, that was pretty. That was I didn't expect him to really, because they had the presenter of the chislic there, like it was a, and
It was
I've
like
had,
college game day when they bring out the brisket and the ribs and
yeah,
everything.
yeah. And like I've had chislic, but like I didn't know that that was the thing they were gonna you know hype up. I mean, chislic's solid. It's just
Yeah.
beef,
Yeah.
but I didn't expect Will Wade to dig right in mid game. I mean, salute to him for having fun with the whole thing, because I don't know if many coaches would have done that.
Yeah. Hey, we'll continue to recap this. We have Aaron Johnston, this week's guest,
Yay!
sitting in the waiting room. We'll admit him.
Yes, we'll allow him to join us, right?
Yeah. Let's see. We're doing that wait, the
Yeah, wait, that awkward.
Zoom wait.
It's tough. The internet, man. Wish it could be instant. There he is.
Hey, coach, we were just talking about chislic. What are your thoughts on it?
It's good. I like it. I eat it a decent amount, I guess. I don't live on it, but I certainly don't avoid it.
What's
See,
a decent amount? Give us like a
yeah.
ballpark. How many times a
Oh, I
month?
don't know, a couple times a month when we go out to eat. I don't go out to eat all that much just because we've got plenty to do at home with kids and everything like that. But I like it. My son likes it a lot. He's a steak guy, so he likes it. He gets it.
Is
I'd say about
barbecue sauce
well.
the dipping sauce of choice? That was Will Wade's. Well, I guess that's what they had for him. But is that the dipping sauce of choice?
I don't like, no, I don't like a lot of dipping sauce on chislic or steak, to be honest with you. I like it kind of the way it is. Now, some of it just the way it's prepared is pretty dry and needs a little help, but if you get good stuff, it's usually okay on its own.
A steak aficionado, if you will. Thanks for joining us, by the way. You're a busy guy. It's tough being Aaron Johnston and getting free time, but we appreciate any time we can get with you. And speaking of, not having much free time, the season is underway, and you've already played your first game. You got another one on Friday against Creighton. But just to talk about how you're feeling about coming into the season. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around the freshman class coming in, but I'm sure you know that we know fairly well that you also just have a bunch of players in general that are coming back after having missed most of, if not all of last season. So, how did it feel? How nice was it getting to prepare for a season with, essentially everybody back and almost fully healthy?
Yeah, now it was a huge difference. Yesterday was our first day in practice of having all 15 of our players practice at the same time. And we haven't had that for, a long time. Last year was obviously severe when it came to the number of injuries and people out. But I mean, you go back the last handful of years, our team has been really good. So this isn't a critique complaint, but we've dealt with a lot of injuries. Even the year before that, when we were so good, we had some people in and out, and so it's just been a rough, probably 3-4 years. But we've won enough where maybe it's just kind of gotten forgotten or minimized a little bit. So yesterday was one of the first times in a long, long time that we had everybody running around out there. So that was great to see. And it's, fun as a coach because you think about the basketball and trying to do well, but just fun as a person. You're around all these young women who are working incredibly hard to compete and do something they love, and to have an injury take them away from that. I don't know. It's just exciting to see them back there and see them having fun and competing, doing something they've worked pretty hard. So it's great as a coach, but it's, I don't know, there's a little bit more of a human level to it that makes it, I think, a pretty neat deal too.
Opening day in Houston. What was that environment like? I know that there was a comeback that was necessary in that fourth quarter. How cool was that to see that type of fight day one?
Yeah, well, I'd never been to Houston before, never been to the city before. I had not been to Rice before, so just fun to see a new environment and new campus. Rice has got a really good team. They before our game did a ring presentation and celebrated their NCAA tournament last year, and so they had high expectations. We probably got caught a little bit of luck. They had one of their key players who had missed the game with an injury. We've been on both sides of that, so that's kind of the nature of it, and just never really got going offensively in that game. Missed a lot of shots. Honestly, going back and watching it, I thought we got pretty good looks throughout the game against a good team, another NCAA tournament caliber team going into this year. So we just kind of lost some momentum there. But I was, to your point, that resiliency in the fourth quarter was great to see because it's hard. It's when things aren't going good, it's easy just to kind of, well, we gave it our best shot, move on to the next game. But in that fourth quarter, I think we scored 24, 25 points and erased I think, 11, 12-point deficit and ended up finding a way to get a win. Our young players played well in that game. Our returners did too. But I thought in that fourth, Emily Fox hit a big three. Katie Vasika hit a big three. And then Timmer kind of got going. Brooklyn, Callie made some really big post moves for us inside. And then obviously Haley hit the big three late with about 8 seconds to go to put us up by 2. So resiliency, just toughness hanging in there. I thought that was great to see from our team. I think one of the things that's made us successful over the years is just consistency. And one of the things that goes into consistency is never getting too up or too down, just staying really solid. And that's over a long period of time, but that's also in games, in those moments. And we've had some good comebacks over the years. And I think just that consistency, that thought that, hey, the next possession can be good, and not letting yourself get caught up in the emotion of everything is a really important quality.
Um, you mentioned, obviously Haley Timmer with the big three at the end of the game, essentially the game winner. But as you know, I mean, she's one of the players that missed all of last year. And we talk about instant impact or maybe welcome back. You come back and you hit a game winner in your first game back. And she was really primed after winning Summit League tournament MVP the season prior. She was really going to be, one of your premier players last season. Obviously, that didn't happen that way, but you're big on, I know you're big on the human element of just moments and basketball and how your team meshes. So just not even as a coach, just as someone who's seen her journey, who's seen how she's worked hard to come back. I mean, obviously in Spokane, I don't think she was ever really going to play, but just me personally seeing how she was, doing the things necessary to try and get back on the court as soon as she could and then to come back and have this moment in the first game. What did it mean for you just to see that and experience that? And I'm sure, some of her veteran teammates were even more excited for her than maybe she even was, because that was a huge moment.
Yeah, for sure. When you get injured, you expect to be able to come back and play, but there are certain injuries that are really long ones and take an incredible amount of time. And Haley's was one of those. And so missed an entire season, missed an off season, just missed a lot. And you kind of assume, I think on the outside, watching players, okay, when they're healthy, that means they're back to where they were. Healthy to start practicing and start playing doesn't mean you have the timing, the confidence, the rhythm, the just belief. It takes some good things to happen for you. And I think so far this year, Haley in an exhibition scrimmage now in our first game had kind of been working through some of that, just getting back into a game shape, game confidence, game rhythm. And that game in the second half there, which she started to really get going, was just a great sign that she's starting to, as a person, feel that belief and confidence that, hey, I am back and I can do really good things. And then to have the confidence to take that three, which was a great shot, and she's a great shooter. In that moment, though, just kind of is a neat, story for her and something to feel really good about, because when you're in the day-to-day grind of rehabbing and trying to come back, you're hoping you ever get a chance to have that moment, then to have it in her first game and to make the play is just a cool story for her. Her parents were down there too. They got a chance to see her play for the first time in a real regular season game and have that kind of impact. Callie would be the same story. Callie hit big free throw, a couple and one, late, and made some plays for us. Same thing, that journey for her to get back and play was just a great story. So everybody, I think, rallied around that, and fun to see, and hopefully they have a lot of good moments going forward this year too.
We've heard about coaches and teams in the Dakotas and Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Montana, even struggling to schedule non-conference opponents. It's a difficult place to get to, right? Like it's not easy to get a big name team to go there. You have a little bit of help with Creighton being down the road. So you have them tomorrow, obviously, but you're playing teams that are either ranked or receiving votes 4 times this year, and 2 of those are at home. How'd you get Duke on the schedule in Brookings? That feels like a tough one to get Kara Lawson and her squad out there.
Yeah, to your comment of tough to schedule in our area, hard to get games, I kind of agree with that, but I kind of don't. I mean, the reality is, to your question, we've gotten a lot of teams over the years to do it. Some of it is who you're willing to go play to get them to come back. Some of it is how you want to invest, your money to make that happen, because that's certainly a real factor. I just think here over the years, we've prioritized scheduling. I'm not saying other people don't. I'm just simply saying we really value it. We put a lot of time, effort, and money into it. So you have to be willing to play some of those games to get people to come back. You got to work pretty hard at it. I think for us, like a Duke game, we've had a lot of those over the years. Having some experiences with USA basketball and connecting with a lot of coaches who are involved with that, I think helps. It's not like we're all calling each other, all the time, but you just have some conversations, meet some people, familiar faces, just adds a kind of comfort level to scheduling. I think Texas is the same way. We'll go to Texas. They'll come back next year. So you've got really a couple of teams that are Final Four caliber teams that'll play inside a First Bank and Trust arena here in the next 12 months, which is pretty cool. And so some of those relationships and connections, willingness to play, because like I said, you got to go do that. Women's basketball is different than men's basketball. There's just a different financial piece that goes into it, so it's probably a little bit easier on our side to get some of those teams to come back. But they're great challenges for us, and we really look forward to that. We talk about that in building our program, from recruiting to fans to donors to what our expectations are. There's a lot of those things that come from your approach to scheduling. So we've always taken that part to heart. We like I said, invest a lot of time, energy, and money in trying to put it together. We've been lucky over the years. You mentioned Creighton. That's going to be a great game for us tomorrow. They're a top 25 team, and they're on this run. They've had this class come through that's elevated their program in a really, really high level. And then, someone like you and I, we've had a great series with them over the years. So we're lucky that a couple local ones will do that. I wish more local ones would do that. I love going to Houston and playing Rice. That's great, but I'd play anybody in a bus trip of Brookings, we will 100% play. So I'll put that scheduling plug out there right now. But scheduling's been good for us. Our coaches do a great job with it. And I think our success, familiarity, fan support, all those things help a lot with getting those teams to come here too.
You say that women's basketball is different. I understand on the national scale that it is, but you've seen growth. I mean, you've been in Brookings for a while now, and you've turned that program into something that's must-see TV. And I mean, we see it. You could walk into that arena on any given Saturday in basketball season, and you don't know which team is playing, the men or the women, but the crowd is the same. And we see it during the tournament in Sioux Falls. We've seen it with your traveling fan base that goes on those road games. What's it like to have been a part of that process to where women's college basketball and women's basketball in general has reached?
Yeah, I think it's pretty special, and I don't know that we take it for granted at all. I think we appreciate it very much because, to your point, where our fans have been there for a long time. Even our Division II run, we went to St. Joseph, Missouri, and won a national title. We had just a lot of people make that trip, and that kind of, for us, got that energy going. And then our transition to Division I, going to the NCAA tournament first time, going down to Lubbock, Texas, and having a great group of fans that traveled with us there. So at SDSU, it's been there for a long time, and now that you see that, I think, more widespread. There's always been some teams in the country that draw really well, but now you're seeing it in just so many other places. WNBA, you're seeing it at, several college women's teams have announced, sellouts going into the year, and season ticket packages are gone. And so it's just so much more widespread now than it once was. So I think it's just great to see the elevation of the games. I think in some ways it might make scheduling harder because now there's more revenue to be made for some of these teams. So they're not going to want to give up some of their home games. I don't want it to get too much like the men's side where they just refuse to leave home and they have the resources to do that. But yes, no, it's 100% a really positive thing. And I think I just think the widespread part of it, when I was really young and before coaching and probably still, college kid was watching games, you could watch Tennessee women's basketball and you could say, boy, they draw, they've got it, and that's what you saw. You saw a couple schools that had it. But now, like I said, you just see it so often. Rice had, good crowd when we were down there. People were supporting that team, and no doubt that their success and their run last year has brought more people to their table, and it's fun to see, and hopefully it continues to grow. I think it will. I just think TV exposure has been great. Some of the stars that have come along in the last handful of years have really risen that profile too, which is fun to see, and hopefully that continues.
You mentioned, the rise of women's basketball, and really when I think of the next generation, I feel like it, a lot of that starts with, the players that are in, the Juju Watkins class and maybe right below, where that next generation is really going to take it to the next level. And I think you have on your team one of those players who can be maybe on a national scale, maybe people might not know her, but Katie Vasika was, a top player around the country. She's not just some, girl in the Midwest that was pretty good, good enough to go to South Dakota State. I mean, she had Power Five offers from, the cream of the crop, and I'm sure you know that. But that class in totality, Katie and Emily Fox and Jaden Dunn and Claire and Molly, those being five girls from South Dakota. I haven't gotten a chance to ask you, but I've been curious. Um, how significant is that maybe to you, to that, you didn't have to go very far to get this class in, and to know that there's that much talent in South Dakota, and that they still, even in the era of NIL, where everybody's getting a bag, everybody wants to transfer both on the men's and the women's side, but you were able to get five high quality players to stay home and play together and want to play for you. So, what does that mean to you? How do you just keep this, homegrown talent coming to your school? Because it could be very easy for them to say, yeah, I can go to South Dakota State, but I can also go somewhere else and make, six figures and play basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for us, it's relationships are just so important in recruiting. And for this group, relationships in the recruiting process started at a very early age. And you just develop a comfort level, hopefully, with both sides. It's just never been, recruiting's never been transactional here, where you feel like that's the type of player that comes to SDSU. So I think from the beginning in the recruiting process, you just have this start of a relationship. You start to figure out, here's what our goals are, here's what their goals are. How can we put these things together and then create a great experience for people that's going to last a lifetime? And some of the transactional parts of recruiting are just very short-term things, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's going to be, I'm sure, plenty that pursue that, and there's nothing against it. But I think this group and most of the players that came here, Brooklyn Meyer fits into that, Paige Meyer fits into that, Haley Timmer fits into that, Kelly Tight. I mean, we have a lot of players that fit into that we're looking for maybe more of a relational piece and something where they wanted to have a college experience that was specific to what SDSU offered. And that's been a great recipe for us. I also believe we're incredibly fortunate to have so many talented players in our area. We have in South Dakota alone, there's just a number of players that have come through our program. This group is unique in that there's five players that can all play at this level and play at a national level, all in the same class, all from within an hour and a half, basically away of Brookings. That's pretty unique to have that number. But even looking further in recruiting, there's some really good young players in South Dakota right now that will certainly have a chance to look on a national level at where they want to go, and probably consider a South Dakota State or other local schools too. So I think it'll continue to happen. There'll be those players that can compete at that level. The real challenge for any of our schools will be, can we, just again create that vision and that reason for why SDSU can still continue to be a special place. So we've been fortunate that way, but this group is going to be a fun group to watch for sure. I still believe very much that they've got great seniors, juniors, sophomores in front of them who will be an important part of this year and next year's team. But that freshman group will also have a chance to be special as they go through their career.
In March every year, I mean, we've seen in the last few years when you guys won the Summit League tournament and you've gone on to March Madness with pretty favorable seeding. Uh, you kind of get that South Dakota State bump. You're getting that point where nationally you're getting that respect from the committee. and they're saying, okay, this team's legit. They're not, yeah, they're a mid-major team, but they're competing against some of the best teams in the country. Do you think that this is a second weekend type of team this year or maybe next year? And I, because Darren and I, we do. I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We looked at this roster. You talked about those 5 freshmen that came in, and everyone else that's there, Paige and Brooklyn and Callie. Like, this team is legit.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we have that potential, and potential is always a scary word because it doesn't really do much for you, but has that potential in terms of people that can make plays. Our teams that have advanced in the NCAA tournament, and some of them have gotten close to even, going a little further, not just, first round into the second round. Those teams have the ability to do two things, really defend, one-on-one with people. You got to be able to defend post players, guards. The more you got to help and gimmick and do other things, it's just hard because those teams are so good. They find those openings. So you got to be able to defend individually at a pretty high level. And then you got to be able to score against really good individual defensive players. And this year's group has, I think, a lot of pieces who can make plays at that level. A lot of these players could certainly play at that level. So it has that chance for sure. Now, whether we put all those pieces together and make it happen, then I guess we'll see. But definitely, I think we have some size inside. We can play with some bigs out there. We have some perimeter players that can make plays and some wings. So we shoot the ball well enough. There's just a lot of positives to this team, but ultimately we've got a long way to go too. It's There's so many returners back. It kind of feels like everything should just be set in place, but really some of our returners, like you said earlier, didn't play early or last year. So they're still new. You kind of know what they can do, but they're fitting in to the new pieces we added last year and the new pieces we added this year. The new piece, everything is still coming together. So I think, our best basketball will always be our next game, because I just think there's so much improvement that we can do as we watch us early in the year. But definitely has a high ceiling, and we've got a lot of time, but also a lot of work to try and get there.
Um, because of injuries last year, I know at one point you started employing a zone, and you do have ties to USA basketball. And Keenan and I don't know if you know, we both went to Syracuse. I'm curious, were you ever able to hit up Jimmy Boeheim for any 2-3 advice? Because we did see it sprinkled in at times last year. Because I mean, you lack bodies, so in order to maybe avoid some of the unknowns on the defensive side of the ball, you play a little zone. So I'm curious, was there any consultation of Jim Boeheim or anyone else on that 2-3 zone at all?
Coach Boeheim and I are not in the same circles. Never met the man. I've watched their teams play, obviously, on TV over the years. I wish we could run a zone as well as they did there, because they were at the top of it. We did use it a little bit last year. I don't know if it'll sneak in this year. I probably will try and be a little versatile. I know Molly Abdush loves it when we get into our 2-3 zone. She's got those O'Gorman ties, and watching her run around out there and make plays when we get in it, it's like, wow. I mean, they know what they're doing down there too. But we'll see if we need that or want to go do it a little more this year.
And then just to go build off of that, you mentioned Molly. I'm curious, maybe what stood out to you the most about this freshman class? I feel like, seeing so many of them get, pretty important minutes in the exhibitions, and even against Rice, Katie and Emily were able to find, the scorebook, but I'm sure all of them could see the floor at some point this season. So what's maybe impressed you the most about them on the court or off the court, about how they've been able to adapt to the college game?
Yeah. 3 of them are actually going to redshirt. And we've had long conversations here in the last couple of weeks a little bit about that with a few of them. But Jaden, Molly, and Claire are all actually going to redshirt this year. So just kind of decided that. We don't anticipate anything changing with that. And those conversations are just, for us, really healthy back and forth. Here's where we see you. How do you want to maximize your 4 years of eligibility? What do you think fits your academic plan? It's not just a matter of, are you ready or not ready? I think all 3 of them could certainly play this year. They're capable of it. They're ready. They're not lacking in anything. But it's just a year we have a lot of depth at a couple of those positions, and the minutes are going to be a little bit harder to come by this year. So to take full advantage of their 4 years, that's what they're going to do. But I don't think that at all speaks towards Are they ready? Not ready? No, I think they could all play this year, but because of some minutes, it might not be as much as they could next year. And I think Emily and Katie, they played for us in the Rice game. They're doing really well. I mean, Katie was in double figures. Emily hit a three. Just they both are very capable of playing. I think their role and their minutes will continue to grow. But even with them, they've got some really good players around them too that are always going to make those spots highly competitive, and that'll help. But I think watching the young group just kind of grow here, uh, as good as they are, and as good as Paige was when she was a freshman, or Brooklyn Meyer when she was a freshman, or Haley Timmer, it's still a learning curve. It still is college basketball. You're playing against people that are 4, maybe 5 years older than you. The experience level, the physicality of it, it's a different thing, and it's almost really difficult to come in as a freshman and just completely stand out, unless everything's just run through and I think we've got a team that's going to have a lot of balance. So they're all doing really well. They're finding their way, and we're excited about what they're going to bring to the table this year and in the future, because they're great people, great players, and they're doing really well here.
The two players on your team that are not sisters but have the same last name and kind of play like they've been playing together since they were 5 or 6 years old, Paige and Brooklyn Meyer. What have you seen over the past couple of years as that relationship has developed between those two on the court and their ability to make it work? I mean, you have a dynamic guard and a dynamic big that are very difficult to stop in that.
Yeah, they both are elite players, and at their positions, a couple of the top players really in the country. There's some other players obviously in those categories too. I'm not, but they're good. They won't step on the floor very often and just have somebody that's going to outmatch them in terms of ability or athleticism or things like that. And so that's fun. They both have to stand out, and we have to in some ways play through those two a little bit because of their talent, and that's a good thing. But they play really well together. It's a good combination to have. We can put them in a lot of pick and roll stuff, and they're both capable of making plays in that action. We can just leave Brooklyn inside a little bit more and have Paige on the perimeter, and that works too without ball screens. But they just have a knack for each making plays in their area. They're both really good defensive players. Brooklyn was the player of the year defensively in our conference. A lot of times it just seems to go to post because they're rebounding and blocking shots, but Paige is an elite defensive player too. You watch her get out and challenge the ball and guard people one-on-one. It's a pretty special thing. So they both do it on both sides of the floor, and great leaders, just work incredibly hard. They really set, I think, a pretty high standard for our team.
Just two things for you, coach, for me. First thing is going off kind of what Keenan asked you about the Myers, but specifically focusing on Brooklyn. I think you and I would both acknowledge that, it was a very winnable game in Spokane last year, but Brooklyn, I think, was maybe on the receiving end of some tough fouls and didn't maybe get to contribute to the game as much as she would have liked, because I think with just how quickly she got those fouls, she comes out of the game. You guys are playing from behind so early, and it's really, playing that catch-up game is so difficult, especially in the postseason. But I'm curious, how much maybe did that fuel Brooklyn going into the season? She's matched up against Alyssa Peely, who, now she's in the WNBA on the Lynx and was considered one of, those kind of, the kings of the or queens rather of the women's basketball movement, if you will. So being matched up against her and maybe not getting to showcase just what she's fully capable of, how did that fuel her in any way going into this season? Because, you always talk about just how, she's maybe plays above her years. Were there any conversations maybe behind closed doors where she maybe mentioned just how motivated she was after maybe how that game unfolded in Washington?
Yeah, I don't know if it was specific to that game. I think her getting a taste of that level, the year before she did a smaller way when we were at Virginia Tech and won our first round game and lost our second round game. So I think getting those tastes of the NCAA experience, I think, are incredibly motivating for sure. That game didn't go her way. Foul trouble, like you mentioned, just kind of made it hard for her to keep moving. So there's things you take from that, and teams are going to try and defend her a certain way. And she's worked really hard on trying to grow and add parts to her game, where if people are going to try and defender like that, she can have some counters to it. So I think she definitely used it to add pieces to her game for sure. But Brooklyn is highly motivated, highly driven. She is does a great job with all aspects of her, basketball stuff, not just on the court, but she's very involved with her nutrition and staying in shape and recovery. And, it's really a full-time thing in her mind. So her drive and competitiveness has always been really high, just really focused. Still likes to have fun and still is a great personality for sure. But she's someone that puts a lot of time, thought, energy into how she can be the best player she can possibly be. Definitely be fun to see her. She's at a point where she's been around, been such a big part of it. Just a good reminder, she's just a junior, so she does have a lot of time to grow and continue to improve. This year will be a good year for her here in November and December to play against some of the nation's best players and really see how she's kind of continued to step forward from last year to this year.
And then, last thing for me, I don't know if you remember, but after the game, I told you how much I really like, whenever when you mention, and it sticks with me. You always say, it's a group of young people trying to do their best, and I personally love that quote. And I've been wondering, did you get that from somebody, or is that something you came up with as you've been a coach? You've been a coach for so long, winningest coach in South Dakota State history. And I'm just wondering where that originates from. Was there a moment where you realized just how hard these young people go to do something they love, or just what led you to that quote, which I think is inspirational, but also just the reality in a lot of ways of what college basketball is for so many student athletes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, time gives you a better perspective, and I would like to think I'm a little more um, prepared and capable of being a head coach now than I was 20, whatever, 5 years ago. I believe that. Um, and as you kind of just have time and just a little more perspective on things and maybe even take some of the things you pick up at home with your own family and you bring those together. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what this is. These are young adults that have chosen to come to South Dakota State for a variety of reasons, and basketball is a very important part of that reason, but there are other reasons too. And how they kind of move forward in their growth and development as people is got to be the focus, has got to be the goal of what we're trying to do here. Yes, we want to win, and yes, we want to do all these things and schedule the right people, go to the NCAA tournament, and put them in great positions with NIL, all those things. Whatever we can do to make it better is good. Uh, but the very core of who they are young people trying to do the best they can in this world. And there's a lot of learning they will do, just like I did when I was in my early 20s, and I'm sure you guys. And those are just very important times to figure out who you want to be and what you want to do, and develop some habits and characteristics that maybe can lead you to a good place. And so basketball is a great tool and great vehicle to try and create some of those learning experiences. And I think for me as a coach, I just want to continue to remind myself in these high pressure situations and these expectations to win and be great all the time, that we are dealing with young people and they're trying to do the very best they can. And I believe that. And we've got a great group that's done that over the years at a really high level. And I'm really kind of proud of the fact that got a chance to be a part of it and looking forward to trying to build on that as we go forward.
Coach, what makes you tick? What gets you fired up, maybe during practice or during a team workout or something like that? Because we don't really see it during a game. I remember last year during the Summit League Championship game, we saw more emotion from you than I think we've ever seen. I think you got in a ref's ear or something, but you really stay calm and it resonates through your team. Is there anything that gets you fired up?
Well, probably duck on water a little bit. On the inside, it's probably a lot different than what you might see on the outside. Yeah, I mean, I think again, I've probably mellowed over the years. If you guys go back and watch from, the early 2000s, probably a little bit different, I would say for sure. I'm sure our team would say a lot different too. Players from that time come to practice every once in a while and watch, and they afterwards are like, who are you? You were not like this when I played, which I think is what, everybody says. We all feel like it's a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, I just try and be really consistent for our players. To the point I was making earlier, young people trying to do the best they can. They have a lot going on in their lives. They don't want to come to practice and try and figure out, what mood AJ is going to be in, or is he happy about this or not happy about this. And they want to do their thing. And our job is to support them. So when you think about how, I interact with the team or try and be there for the team, what emotions I show or don't show is always directed at trying to help them, not just what do I want to be like today, or what's good for me to do. This is really about putting them in the best situation possible, and I think as coaches, that's our job to try and be that for them. I'm also someone that I don't like. This is great. I appreciate you guys doing this. I have no problem being here, but I don't wake up every day and think about how do I promote myself, or what I mean. I don't really enjoy that part of it. I just want to kind of do a really good job every day. I want to be here for our team, and let them be kind of the light. Let them be the people that are focused on and get a chance to enjoy their experience. And so that to me is also important too. I don't want to be the I guess the story, so to speak. I would rather just let them kind of be the ones out in front of the camera and in those moments. And I think that's a good thing. I value that part, and I think players that come here like that part of it too.
Yeah. There's value in being steady, because I mean, just look at your team. If you're, I think a lot of coaches they can't all coach comebacks the way you do. I think that says a lot about you, coach.
you know, it, it's a very stressful thing that we do. It is incredibly stressful. You're in just situations and moments that are hard, they're difficult. Some of them are on the court, some of them are off the court, just meeting with people, whatever. It's a hard thing, and there's no reason to add any more difficulty to it with emotion that doesn't need to be there. Now, we still celebrate. We still show a lot of enthusiasm when things go well. That's not that we don't honor or recognize positive stuff, because I think a lot of people assume that, it's no, that's not the case at all. But you do it in a way where it's, maybe a little bit more private and a little bit more about the actual relationship and not just about the image of it, I guess.
Are you keeping tally of who's making the half court shots?
We got a few. The other day we started off, a couple of our freshmen went back to back to back. I think we had three in a row, and we thought, oh boy, this is going to be a tough year. And now they've kind of cooled off in these last few games. So the coaches, we've got some ground to make up, but yeah, we will pay attention to it, and usually we get beat pretty good by the end of the year, but it's still fun.
Hey, you're just trying your best, right?
Just doing the best we can.
Yeah.
There you go. Coach, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Obviously promoting your team and the brand that you've built at South Dakota State. It's awesome to watch, from the inside and seeing kind of what you've done there. And I think we're all excited to see where this team goes this year. Sky's the limit. Obviously, tomorrow is going to be a big one against Creighton, a ranked opponent in your building to open it up. That's got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it'll be great. And then right after that, Wisconsin and Duke, and then we go play Georgia Tech and Oregon. So it's going to be a fun few weeks here. Yeah, it'll be good.
There you go. Well, Coach, good luck, and keep the train rolling. Brookings is the heart of college basketball right now in the Midwest, and we're excited to keep watching it.
Okay, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Aaron Johnston, man, what a coach, what a guy.
He's so mellow, man.
Mellow, yeah. He's never high, never. He is just.
I remember last year after that Summit League tournament game, I asked him. I was like, we don't really see that from you. We haven't, in the last couple of years at all. Where you're getting fired up, you're yelling, or all that, and the building was rocking. Right, there were 10,000 people in there. It's a massive game, and he was just like, yeah, it just means a lot. And like it's cool when you see that, because for a guy who is so like slow heartbeat all the time, no matter what happens, like you want to see some of that fire, and we saw it last year. And I think he knows what he has. I think he knows what that team can do. I don't know. They were an 8 seed, I think, last year, or a 7 seed or something in the tournament. They were pretty high.
They were 12. They were 12.
A 12 seed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, 7 in my mind.
Yeah, and I think that was more the committee being aware of just. I mean, they were lacking bodies.
They were.
But I think this time around, you and I have personally talked about what is the possibility that they end up seated high enough to host.
Yeah.
I think, these next 2 to 3 years, it's a real possibility. I mean, starting with this year, it could be a real possibility where, let's just say they knock off Creighton, they knock off Wisco, and then, split between, Oregon and Duke. I mean, you're looking at a team that can really, and for one, I think they'll definitely not sneak in, they'll plunge into the top 25 and
Yeah.
get the respect they deserve there. And then you got to really look at them possibly hosting an NCAA tournament, first two rounds.
If they do sweep all these four tough, I mean, there's a lot of tough games on the schedule. I'm just looking at teams that are either receiving votes or ranked. And right now it's Creighton, Duke, uh, Georgia Tech in Atlanta, or rather in Hawaii. That's the North
Mhm.
Shore Showcase over Thanksgiving. And then right before Christmas at Texas, that's going to be the toughest one for sure. On the road at Moody. Uh, and I was mistaken. They were an 8 seed, I believe, 2 years ago when they had
Yes.
Maya Sell-in, and they went down
Yeah.
to Virginia Tech and beat USC in the first round, that double overtime game, and then almost
Yeah.
came back to beat Va Tech, who ended up going to the Final Four that year.
Mhm.
So yeah, they don't mess around with scheduling, and I think it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah. He,
testament to what they've been able to do.
he wasn't lying when he said we take scheduling very serious because I mean, I mean, this is tough. Like
Yeah,
Creighton, Wisconsin, Duke, Georgia Tech, Oregon, all in a row. I mean,
Ball State
that Ball
in
State, and they
in
get
Muncie,
Ball
and that
State,
Ball State team last year was unbelievable. So,
and
uh,
then you got the Big Sky Summit Challenge right after.
yeah,
All that leading up to Texas in Austin. And the Moody Center is really tough to play. And Texas has been a perennial top five team each of the last 2, 3 years.
yeah,
Like, wow, they don't mess around. We'll put it that way.
they're not playing games, and I think it's so interesting that they are going to redshirt three of those freshmen. That's something we just learned right now, but like that's a testament to how much depth they have, right? Like last year, they were trying to get bodies in the door. They were pulling players from volleyball and softball, or players that weren't even playing,
Yeah.
just to have practice squad players so you can run
Yeah,
five
just to
on
run
five.
fives. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
it was a struggle to get a full. I mean, you've got, they have every women's team has, those practice players, that practice squad of, but at the same time, you also just need your own players to go against each other and to get reps.
yeah.
And they literally were, for lack of a better term, they were so down bad. It was like, can anybody who wants to come play women's basketball? Like, please, does anyone want to help us out?
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, and the Summit League, we talked about attendance at South Dakota State games and how people just show up. They flock. Like it doesn't matter who they're playing or
Yeah,
what day of the week. But the Summit League last year had the fourth highest attendance at a women's conference tournament in the country. So it was the
just
Big Ten.
they show out.
Yeah, they pull up. And the Big Ten sold out everything because of Caitlin Clark. ACC, SEC, Summit League, then Big East, Big 12, and Pac 12. So it's not uncommon for them to play in front of crowds. It's not like they're one of those mid major teams where, they get kind of shell shocked when they go to a big arena.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like when you have a home crowd that shows up, even though they're cheering for you, you're not completely shocked when it's a bunch of people cheering against you. And I think
Yeah,
it also, I mean, we just skipped over the fact that this is a program when in each of the last two seasons has played South Carolina. Like they played South Carolina in South Dakota, that was at the Pentagon. And
yeah.
then last year they traveled to Columbia to play SC. Like this isn't just some, pretty good mid-major. Like this is a team that I mean I'm on the record, Megan. I don't know if you'll tune into this, but I'm on the record in conversations with Megan. Rank South Dakota State. Like they should have been ranked, I think, to start the season. And I call it won't, I don't think it's a hot take,
No,
but like they're going to end up in the top 25 at least once before this season ends. They are that good. I think people recognize them, and they're
they're
just really
they're getting they're getting votes right now. They win tomorrow against Creighton, number 21 team in the country. Yeah, it's a home game. It's still a quad one. That's enough. I think that at that point they should get in. The problem is the difficulty for a lot of these voters to watch these games. And I think it'll be good when they host Duke. That game's going to be on CBS Sports Network nationally. So that's one of those opportunities to showcase what you have to the voters. All right, like not a lot of voters are looking up and being like, all right, we got to tune into the South Dakota State game.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
no disrespect. It's just sometimes they may forget about the state of South Dakota existing, right?
Yeah,
Like
no,
it's not uncommon.
it's just the fact of the matter is sometimes you just get caught by the wayside.
Yeah.
And I, I'm wondering, we all know ESPN, they won't say it, but we know ESPN is a little prone to some SEC bias. You said that Duke game is on CBS Sports Network nationally,
Yes.
but if you actually go and look at the ESPN app, they're promoting that the game is going to be on. Oh, never mind. Never mind. False alarm. I was looking at something because I saw SEC Network Plus, but that was actually for the Texas game. I was about to say there's some SEC bias going on of some sort, but I'm
But Duke
completely
is an ACC team.
Duke is an ACC team. Yeah,
Yeah.
I realized that as soon as I
You're
said
good.
it.
They're in the
But then I
Carolinas,
wasn't
so
here. Yeah.
yeah.
But, the Creighton game will be on something your former child.
Oh, is it the one that I created?
Yes.
It is. Summit League Network. Wow. Spent a whole 10 weeks making that over the summer.
Special. People forget.
Hey, man. Yeah, good times. Remember that show that we had on there?
Yeah, it was great.
Fun.
It was definitely must-see TV. I mean, we're giving out awards, we're having some fun with it, we're having coaches, we're learning about the equation, which
The equation.
we still, I don't know if we've ever fleshed out, because we all know y equals mx plus b,
Yeah.
but I don't know what y equals for North Dakota. So at some point we'll need maybe some more clarity on
Well,
that.
it didn't equal a win against Colorado State on Tuesday night, unfortunately. Uh, we had some crazy results. I just want to say happy birthday to football, belated
Yeah,
birthday. Yesterday, I guess Wednesday was football's 155th birthday. And as a known Rutgers fan and native of the Princeton area in the garden, the great giant garden of New Jersey, do you have anything to say? Was there a big parade going through town to celebrate football?
there is no parade for the birthday of football, unfortunately. However,
Shameful.
I can assure you that Rutgers football, they do not fail to remind you almost incessantly that, in fact, Rutgers is the birthplace. It's plastered all over the stadium. I forget what it's called, like High Point.
SHI,
Yeah,
SHI.
SHI, yeah, it's all over SHI. It's all over their facilities. So you'll know that it's the birthplace. I don't know. Now, I guess maybe the game was played at Rutgers because I've been to Princeton as well, just as many times. I live 15 minutes away from the stadium. And I don't think I've ever seen or even heard them mention that like they played in the first ever football game. I think that's just like Rutgers will tell you until you're blue in the face, but
Yeah,
Princeton doesn't really. I think they should start leaning into it a little bit more, especially, I don't know if you heard, but the Ivy League is considering letting their teams play in the FCS playoffs, which
I saw
uh,
that.
just more promotion. So why not Princeton? I mean, yeah, Princeton might be famous enough as it is, but no one's adverse to a little more fame. Start leaning into it. The birthplace of college football. It's not just Rutgers. Maybe that's where it happened, but you were a part of that. So you need to start claiming that too. And shout out to Princeton basketball for beating Iona at home the other day. That was a 1 point win. I was considering going. I didn't, but I
It's a
uh I
consideration that
I
counts.
was yeah, I was tuned in. Shout out Brett McConnell and Mitch Henderson for what they do, and Xavier and Lee. I'm trying to get them on the show.
Yeah.
Work in progress. I do have a new in, so look out for any one of those three names I just mentioned to come on this show because Princeton basketball, if you're not familiar, look up what they did a couple of seasons ago in the NCAA tournament. It was pretty special, some would say.
They're a special squad. I mean, they might be one of the best, most consistent teams in the state of New Jersey.
I think so. I think you could
Seton Hall almost lost to St. Peter's. I don't know if you saw that.
yeah, Seton Hall has Shaheen Holloway has struggled. Like Seton Hall, they got their annual something about Seton Hall. It doesn't matter who their coach is, it doesn't matter what state their program is in. When UConn goes to um East Orange or South Orange, I forget which one, but when UConn goes to North New Jersey, they lose. I don't know what it is. They don't win. Like Seton Hall was not that good last year, and obviously UConn won the national title. They lost to Seton Hall at Seton Hall. And it seems like a scheduled loss. Like if Seton Hall goes to UConn, they're probably going to use. But when UConn goes to Seton Hall, they're probably going to lose. It is just like this strange dynamic that I've noticed. So, like, you've got Seton Hall almost losing to St. Peter's in their first game, but I guarantee you they probably will beat UConn at home this year. It's just like the way it works. I don't know why, but that's just what happens.
It's Big East cannibalism.
Yeah. The eat or be eaten, as they say, kill or be killed. That's
Yeah,
the motto in the Big East.
that's about it. Uh, Dickinson, I just got to give a shout out to the alma mater. You see the jersey back there. The boys beat Gettysburg again for the 8th consecutive year. So the little brown bucket stays in beautiful Carlisle. And yeah, look, Gettysburg, no. They haven't
Not,
been good since
not
like
in your locker room.
no. They used to be a Division II program, and Dickinson and Gettysburg would still play each other every year because it's rivalry, it's tradition. So I think Gettysburg was Division II for about 20 years or so. And there was a story of Gettysburg going on the road to Carlisle. It's about 30 minutes. It's not far. And Dickinson ended up beating a Division II Gettysburg team. Gettysburg had won it like 12 straight times. They didn't bring the bucket with them. So Dickinson said, fine, go get the bucket. We'll wait for you. Go get it, bring it back, and we'll celebrate with it. That's exactly what they did. Gettysburg had to go back and get it. So yeah, I just gotta give some love to my
They
squad.
basically got sunned, basically.
Basically, yeah, yeah. And now it's been 8 straight years. So the boys are cooking. We got Johns Hopkins tomorrow night, Friday night, under the lights in Baltimore. So that'll be a tough one, but we'll be there. College hoops is rolling. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add?
No, just San Francisco, Cal Poly almost got wacky the other night.
Oh my God.
Cal Poly was they at
Wasn't
one
that
point,
election night? No one was watching the election. Everyone was watching
yes,
that.
yes. Well, I'm a good patriot. I was locked in on both, but it
Fair.
was the night it was election night. And Cal Poly, who, San Fran, they had some really good secret scrimmage results. They were shorthanded, they were missing one of their best players, but at one point, San Fran was up 9 points with about 15 minutes left to go in the second half. And then Cal Poly stormed back and they led by as much as six. And then, eventually San Fran, overtook them and then they took the lead and never looked back. But Cal Poly made it a little close again. That's a team, Big West basketball will be interesting. Cal Poly, like I said, close result against San Fran. And UC Davis was leading
Yeah.
Washington for a good portion of that game. Washington um, eventually took the lead and was able to take care of business per se. I guess maybe to what their standard would be, but UC Davis was up late. I think it was 58-53, 58-53 with 7:15 left in the second half. T.Y. Johnson went off for 35, shot 10 for 25. So I mean, you talk about green light, he's got it,
Yeah.
but impressive result from UC Davis. They don't get the win, but Big West basketball could be really interesting. I think
UC
that
San Diego last night in that crosstown rivalry against San Diego State hasn't been a rivalry in a long time, I should say, because UC San Diego, they just made the jump from D2. I think this is their first year that they're eligible to play in the NCAA tournament since making that transition. But they lost by 5 last night, and they had the lead late, a
yeah,
two
San
possession
Diego
lead with
State
like
was
5 to go.
shorthanded and they are young, but yeah, they definitely had a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
Ryder, crosstown rival with San Diego, went to, went over to the Bay. They got a 1 point win. Shout out Ryder. Ryder was really good last year. They're 1-1 to start this season. Played their first game against UCLA. Shout out Will Kyle. That was a bit of a bludgeoning, but
Yep.
Ryder, stayed out on the West Coast and picked up a nice little win against San Diego.
I got to say, the end of that San Diego game, I was watching it, San Diego Rider last night, and You know, you talk about New Jersey folding and such. Ryder,
Talk about
hold
that.
on, hold on. Ryder had the lead, and San Diego was coming down the court, trailing by one. They get into the lane, and they miss a couple of layups, and they folded at the end. I mean, they were right there on the cusp of winning that game, and
Yeah, the final score was
Jenny
six.
Craig Center. Yeah,
The final
yeah,
score was 68-67 for the last minute 15. And
yeah.
there are there were a lot of bunnies missed. We'll put it that way. Uh,
Uh,
what else do we got? Yeah, not much else. Boise State took care of business. Pepperdine held
they could
up.
be a problem.
Yeah, Boise State, the Mountain West, man, they are really good.
Future
They're
Pac.
really good. Yeah, the future Pac-12. RIP the Pac-12.
Hey, I do want to say this while we're on that realignment topic. North Dakota State has been rumored to make the jump to the Mountain West because the Mountain West, I believe, needs one more team to be eligible for the college football playoffs. So they need another one of those football playing schools. North Dakota State, I don't know. I know that there's money involved, and it's several $1 million that teams need to pay now because that's been bumped up to jump up to FBS. Certain teams have done it. Uh, Missouri State is doing it next year to go to Conference USA, leaving the Missouri Valley Football Conference and Missouri Valley for other sports. But I don't know. That'll be interesting. I've had conversations with, the athletic director at North Dakota State over the past couple of years. We've talked about these things, South Dakota State, North Dakota as well. These conversations come up because these schools are always linked to these moves, but they're also kind of linked to each other, right? Like North Dakota State and South Dakota State, they both made the move to Division One at the same time, and that was important because they needed that natural rivalry, that team that was in their area. But I don't know. I don't know. What would you think if North Dakota State did go to this new Mountain West Conference?
I mean, I think you got to consider the fact that, North Dakota State and South Dakota State are ascending programs in almost every sport, and especially football and basketball, both on the men's and women's side, where North Dakota State has had past success in the NCAA tournament, and in just basketball in general. And of course, I mean, I think football goes without saying just how much success they've had. And then South Dakota State being the reigning national champions at the FCS level and also continuing to ascend and remain a top program at the FCS level, it's almost inevitable. I mean, when your football team is good, I feel like everything else kind of follows suit. And just with the success that the football teams are having, they're almost gonna, for for what it's worth, and I think you got to be honest, I think they'll just naturally outgrow the Mountain Valley. And that's not a slight to the Mountain Valley. It's just a testament to
Missouri
how,
Valley.
or Missouri Valley, excuse me.
They're
It's more of
combining too.
yeah, it's more of a testament to just how good those programs are, where they're able to turn out these really successful football programs, and they just outgrow it. And I think that the natural next step becomes going to that, group of five level where you're not playing in the FCS, you're in the FBS, and maybe you struggle for a few years. But it wouldn't shock me if South Dakota State is, a team that could end up, or even North Dakota State, a team that ends up playing, don't crucify me, playing against like Big Ten competition in, within the next, let's just say, decade. Because these teams there's so much movement happening so quickly nowadays. And I think, I mean, I'm sure you remember not too long ago, South Dakota State played a baseball game against Iowa to open the season. So they have the talent in the area to compete. They have the recruiting ability. So yeah, I think it's just the natural next step. It's just really a matter of when and not necessarily if.
Yeah. North Dakota State baseball playing in the Mountain West would be kind of funny because I I've been up there. Summit League had their tournament 2 years ago in Fargo, and they share the stadium with a professional ball club, the American Association. I think Fargo Moorhead Redhawks or something, and it's a nice stadium. It's actually the same dimensions, exact same dimensions as Yankee Stadium. Um, I don't know why, but yeah. But it had 3 inches of ice on it 2 weeks before the tournament. They didn't play a single home game until the weekend before the Summit League tournament started. So if you get a team and the new Mountain West is going to look strange. I don't know who else is going to be in it, but if you get one of these teams from a warm weather state and you're like, hey, you got to go to Fargo, North Dakota this weekend
Yeah.
to play a 3-game set against
I
North
mean,
Dakota
yeah.
State.
Yeah, you're already getting that now in the Big Ten, the ACC, where you've got, I mean, imagine being you know, let's say a volleyball player at Stanford, and on a Tuesday night, you got to go from Stanford to College Park, Maryland.
Oh my gosh.
Like what's happening? Or not even not Stanford, UCLA. You got to go from,
Yeah.
LA to College Park, Maryland on a Tuesday afternoon and play a volleyball game that night. Or, you're like I said, then or you are Stanford and you got to go play, I don't know, Syracuse on a Wednesday afternoon. Like these conferences, at least, before it used to make sense regionally. Now it's
Yeah.
just who wants money? Join my conference.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so strange. I mean, I saw the Miami Cal game a couple weeks ago, a football game, and I had to remind myself multiple times that this is a conference game.
Conference game.
This is this is the Atlantic Coast Conference, a matchup between the U and California.
Yeah, the Atlantic coast.
And everybody was talking about coming into this year with all these new looking conferences, the new looking Big Ten, new looking ACC. Oh man, these football players are gonna have to travel so much. Yeah, that's fine. They travel once a week.
Yeah.
It's the volleyball, it's basketball, it's soccer, it's field hockey, whatever it is. Like all of a sudden, it just opens it way more.
Yeah.
And your schedule is insane.
Yeah, it's tough. I wonder if I think it's maybe something that we could dive into later in the year, just like
Yeah,
maybe talking to a volleyball player, a field hockey player about, just what, this is your first year doing this. And I think it is relevant to our show in the sense of mostly major, where yeah, we focus on maybe the smaller schools that are at that mid-major level, but these are all schools that, you know, they're a mid-major for as long as they want to be, because when a team wants to make that jump, 9 times out of 10 they're going to do it.
right.
It's for these schools don't really say no to money, and I it's just the nature of the beast. So I think it would be maybe relevant to our show in that regard, where you're going to have these schools making these jumps, and then all of a sudden you're going from playing Denver and Kansas City and Omaha to you're playing Colorado State and then Boise State and then I don't know,
Fresno State, like,
Fresno
yeah,
State. Like you're just really expanding just how much you're doing, and it weighs on you. It's not easy to do.
yeah, yeah. It is interesting. Grand Canyon made the announcement last week that they're going to the Mountain West, the new Mountain West. Mind you, they were in the WAC 2 years ago. They're in the WCC this year for the first time. So they already jumped a conference, and now they're leaving the West Coast Conference to go to the Mountain West.
Yeah, well, Grand Canyon is kind of their own, you know, they're unique. I'll say, put it that way.
It's like Liberty.
Yeah, but like Liberty, if they were, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the ethics. There's a lot going on with Grand Canyon. I'm not
Yeah,
claim to know it all. I just know that it's very interesting,
yeah,
to put it lightly.
yeah. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I went to a Mexican restaurant uh, Sunday. All right. I love Mexican food. I'm Mexican. All right. Second generation Mexican American. Shout out. I need my food spicy. Right. But with that, I need water. Okay. They had these little glasses. I mean, these were like 8-ounce glasses of water.
Shot glasses of water.
What am I? And there's no pitcher at the table. Right. So I'm waiting for the waitress to come back around and give
Was the
me.
water cold?
It was decent. It was all right. I
Hey,
mean,
the new thing is to give like not like basically room temp water. And I know that's how people prefer it, but
it's a
like if I'm
European
eating a
mindset, is
hot
what it
meal,
is.
yeah, but if I'm eating a hot meal, can I get some cold water? I don't think that's outrageous. Like we're not in Europe. This is
And can I
America.
get like at least 20
Calm.
ounces of it? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't want to wait.
a glass. I need a glass, not a
Give me something substantial. I'm not trying to sip my water, right? This is an apple juice. I need I need substance. So that bothered me. I just wanted to share that because
Wait, were you back home or were you in Colorado when this happened?
in Denver, yeah.
I was
So
gonna say I saw this really cool looking, really nice, good looking restaurant. You ever see the 1 hour lunch guy?
no.
Okay, so there's this guy on TikTok who has his channel is called 1 Hour Lunch, and it's basically him just like going to different places. I think he's in LA, like he lives in LA or like in the area, and he goes places and he tries them and he reviews like what he has during his lunch hour. And he went to some place the other day with like these real crunchy tacos, and it was like 34
Taco
bucks.
Bell?
No, it was like $34 for 10 tacos. Like not bad, and like they looked really, really good. And I was wondering if you had ever tried it before. I forget the name of the place, but it was really, really good.
I
But
haven't, but I need to.
I added it to my when in LA list because I've never been to LA, but when I do go, I definitely have a long list of places to
Yeah.
venture.
Yeah. Send that to me because I'm going home for Thanksgiving, so I'll need that. That's important stuff. But next time I go to this Mexican spot, it's a good spot, great food, great tacos. I'm bringing my own water.
And
Like I can't play games with that.
I mean, at that point, you may as well bring milk.
Yeah. Chocolate.
Get some ice cream after
Maybe bring
some.
my own horchata. I don't know. Yeah.
I
Bring my own
mean,
soft serve. I don't know.
yeah,
I'll just
yeah.
move in at that point.
Yeah. Bring your bed, your couch, everything. I know you got Fagan. Let Fagan slide through.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Who says no? Weather. You guys got any snow out there? Or I saw it was like 75 yesterday.
Dude, it was an 80 degree, bro. It was 80. I walked outside yesterday before I hit the road to dash. I go outside and I wore like I had shorts on, but I at least had like a little my one of my heavy flannels.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, there's gonna be a little chill in the air. Dude, I walked out. I'm like, why is it so warm? Like, and it wasn't like it was just like middle of fall warm. Like, how sometimes in the middle of fall, you'll get those like 60-degree days where it's just like, wow, it's really nice out. It was like unnaturally warm. And,
Yeah.
it just makes you wonder, like, dude, global warming, it has to be, it just reminds me that it has to be real because I walked outside. I'm like, why is it 80 degrees? It's November 6th. This isn't supposed like this is the time of the year where like and even when the sun went down, it wasn't really cold. Like I remember like in high school, playing football, like this is the time of the year where you're breaking out maybe at least for me, I'm breaking out like the half Under Armour, like where that goes to just like my elbows or like I'm wearing the full one and I'm pulling it up to my elbows. I feel like you can just play. I mean, at this rate, if this is how it's going to be, you can play a whole season and never have to wear long sleeves. Like it's not even cold at all. I know I've seen snow in the Southwest. I know my friend Jenna, like they've already been skiing in Salt Lake City. I don't know if that's just the mountains or if it's also in where at more
Well,
normal station,
I,
but
I'll tell you this right now. I'm looking out the window and it's coming down pretty heavy out there, snow. So
wow.
it's been snowing for the last couple of days here in Denver. It's 27 degrees right now. And yeah, you're right. November is the time of year in high school football. Where you're breaking down some sleeves, you're maybe wearing get the hand warmer around the waist. You're being proactive. And for me, that was like, I don't know, 50 degrees on a Friday night. So that was a little bit different
50
out west.
degrees on a Friday. Shit, I'm still in no sleeves with that. Give me the turf tape. I wish turf tape was cool when we were in high school. I would have been Mr. Turf Tape. I
You know
can't
who
even
wears turf tape on grass? Justin
who.
Fields.
That's weird.
Yeah. So that's
I mean,
probably
it's more of a
his job.
let's be honest. It's a style thing. No one really. It's not like guys really need it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
'Cause
The shooting sleeve as a quarterback, though, that's, if you're a gunslinger, yeah.
swag. I mean, Dylan Raiola needs to take his off, but other than that, I'm just saying.
I'll abstain from that conversation for now. USC still has to play Nebraska.
Nah, you're good, dude. Matt Rule, overrated.
Yeah, I mean, fair. I saw what he did to Temple.
Yeah, but what
He
has he
got
done?
college game day there.
Went to NFL, went to the NFL,
Yeah, ruins guys.
came back to college. Nebraska. What have they done? They just got smoked back to back big noon games.
They got
They
killed by UCLA, didn't they?
they got killed by Indiana.
Everyone's getting killed by Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana is tough.
Yeah, shout out. All right, great episode.
Yes.
Anything else?
Yeah. No, I think I'm
You're getting substantial water at restaurants?
yeah, yes.
Good, good. All right. Yeah, that was a good one. We will enjoy another weekend of the beautiful sport created by Dr. James Naismith, known Canadian turned American. So shout out us. And
Right now it is 11. It is past 11. There are no games yet, but
yeah, soon.
season is in full swing. We had some games at noon. All of them feature D2 schools, but if you're a sicko and want to watch some, some UT Martin and Kentucky Christian or North Alabama and Point University, that's coming up at noon.
Point University. What is
Yeah,
that?
not as opposed to High Point. This is just Point.
I was thinking it was Point Loma Nazarene in San Diego,
Um,
but we'll check. Great
well,
podcasting here.
yeah, this is what it's all about. It just says Point University. Let me see. North Alabama.
I'm on their website right now. Let's see. It's Point, and it
Just straight.
is
Yeah, Point.
elementary day.
Oh,
Wow.
so that they got the youngins out in North Alabama.
Yeah. The Point Skyhawks. And they have a website that doesn't even pop up. So
Yeah, I'm trying to click on pointskyhawks.com. Apparently doesn't exist. If you're watching this Point University admins, can we Whoa, dude! They beat Air Force.
who?
Oh, no, no, no. North Alabama did. I forgot. I thought I was about to say this team beat Air Force, and they're not even like I didn't know Air Force lost to D2, but it was. I was still on the North Alabama website because I clicked on it and I switched. Don't mind me. Oh my God.
Wow. Hey, happy weekend, everyone. We'll see you
Yeah,
next
yeah.
week.
Happy weekend. We'll see you next week. Please sponsor us.
Yeah. Goodbye.